Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. Today we're looking at an updated team-up list of Ultra Necrozma. Lots of people are expecting this card, or this deck, to be much better than previously, after having a lot of criticism for being an inconsistent build of Malamar. We do gain a few new toys from the team-up expansion. Giratina is going to be one to experiment with, alongside Viridian Forest, possibly the biggest card for the deck, being able to pull out metal energies when you need them, as well as giving you extra discarding options for psychic energies to improve your synergy with Malamar. So a big stadium card for the deck, going to help it change up quite a bit and try and put to bed some of those rumors of the deck being inconsistent. I do have in the weaknesses that the deck still has that sort of label attached to it of being less consistent than other builds. It is reliant on finding multiple stage 1s, usually on turn 2. So it does have that going against it, but the pros of this deck are huge because we have Distortion Door Giratina being able to recycle itself infinitely in non-GX matchups, being a pesky 130 hit point basic that's just going to keep coming back. We also have the Distortion Door, which can help set up numbers against some GXs or even non-GXs to start using Sky Scorching Light to take multiple prizes in the late game in non-GX builds, which in theory gives you reasonable matchups, whilst also being very good against the GX builds and even the tag team matchups, because Ultra Necrozma's damage is infinite and Photon Geyser goes insane if you're able to develop your board full of Malamars. So the deck having the options for non-GX and GX threats means that it's pretty versatile and has lots of, it's not going to have too many just outright bad matchups because you can play two different styles depending on what you're up against. You can be very reactive with this build, and a lot of people are excited to see it in the new team-up meta. So let's talk about the list and my card inclusions within it. So first of all, a 5/4 line of Malamar, because we're playing the Ditto Prism Star. I'll quickly mention it now. This is literally just an extra Inkay in the deck. But the Psychic Recharge ability is exactly what this deck is all about. Using those psychic energies in your discard pile, attaching them to your bench Pokemon, trying to stack these into play, getting lots of recharges going is the name of the game, so we can power up the likes of Giratina, Lunala, and Ultra Necrozma every single turn, and be having, a backup attacker ready for every occasion is pretty much the idea here. Mali is so strong at allowing us to access these very high energy costing attacks in order to just spam them, really. So I think more than ever, it's important to have this Ditto in the list, even though we're not playing any other stage 1s, because we have the likes of Zapdos and Lost March becoming more and more relevant. They're very good decks at getting early pressure on the board. Zapdos especially is able to gust up Inkays for fun in the opening 2 or 3 turns, so it is vital for us to get multiple Inkays down on the board early so that we can still maintain our psychic recharges and getting our attackers onto the field. So I really like playing the Ditto just to be an extra basic so that we can fill the board with Inkays early. You'll see that we're playing 10 Ball Search cards as well. We are very determined to get lots of Inkays on the board and lots of Malamars turn 2. And that just is going to help us in consistency and protect ourselves against the early aggression of these new Zapdos and Jolteon-based builds coming out, which is very important. From there, we have our 2 main attackers, really. The Ultra Necrozma is the first one. It's an Ultra Beast 190 hit point Dragon type, weak to Fairy. A little bit awkward when there is Alolan and Ninetales roaming around, as well as Gardevoir-based builds potentially coming back, thanks to the likes of Pokemon Communication coming out. Photon Geyser, though, is an insanely valuable and high damage output attack. It does, for a Psychic and Metal, a base of 20, plus 80 more for each Psychic Energy you discard from the Ultra Necrozma-GX. So 2 Psychic Energies being binned is 180, Choice Band 210, which is already golden numbers for dealing with Zoroarks and such. He does have Beast Energy available to him as well, so we are effectively playing 3 Choice Bands in the list, with one of them being the form of an energy card. And again, when you just put that 3rd and 4th energy on, we're reaching tag teams quite happily. So Photon Geyser being able to just clear up whatever's in your path is going to be incredible. The Sky Scorching Light GX attack is so huge for helping you win out against other non-GX builds. I just mentioned how Zapdos will probably start taking the lead against you, oftentimes picking off Inkay after Inkay, while we are slowly trying to build towards Giratina. But the combination of Distortion Door from Giratina and Sky Scorching Light being able to pick off lots of things towards the end of the game thinking about things like Jirachis, even 90 hit point things like Malamars in other Mali mirrors, if they're playing Eevee Snorlax builds or like updated gas can builds, even in mirror matches, you can try and do a Sky Scorching Light play and take multiple knockouts towards the end of the game. So we can fall behind knowing that Sky Scorching Light will catch us up and take multiple prize knockouts. So really, really great option in non-GX matchups, making this deck have a pretty good non-GX matchup in general, especially if lots more decks start incorporating Jirachi. This is going to be huge for those sorts of things, which is really, really excellent. And then we have the non-GX attacker in the deck. That Distortion Door I've just mentioned can help set up numbers for the likes of Jirachi. You can put 1 damage counter on a Lele as well, and then it means his Shadow Impact with a Choice Band takes a knockout, so that's very efficient. It's just going to help get you extra damage counters here and there to save some math for you. Sometimes it can mean that Ultra Necrozma needs 1 less energy card, for example. Again, looking at mirror matches where they have 190 hit points on their Ultras, which is really huge. And then his Shadow Impact attack does 130, which is enough to knock out most non-GX things, and you have 4 damage counters that you place on one of your Pokemon. Normally you can put him on himself if you're up against stuff that can reach over 130 damage anyway. Otherwise, you can just start putting them on your Malamars and whatnot, knowing that they can probably knock them out in one shot regardless. Also notable is that you can do this against spread matchups and knock out your own stuff. This means they have less damage to play around with a magical swap. It means you can make sure that they don't have access to counter gain or counter energy, which can run them out of DCE in some certain situations. And it means you physically just have less Pokemon on your board. So you can start doing things like Let Loose, knocking out your own Marshadow, and then Let Loosing them again later on in the game. When they don't have access to counter energy and they're running low on DCEs, they may end up missing attacks and you can catch back up on them. So Giratina is actually pretty big in spread matchups, which are going to be pretty relevant as well. So really good attack in the non-GX matchups. And what I love about Distortion Door is you only need 2 copies in this deck because, you know, really you only need 1 as long as you don't prize it. Because you can just keep recovering him non-stop in those non-GX matchups, which is just insane for you. From there, we have one other non-GX attacker in here. It's going to be the Lunala Prism Star. It has 160 hit points on a basic, which is huge. Very awkward to deal with for a lot of decks. Usually it forces some big GXs to start hitting the field, and that's why he's so awesome. Using that Psystorm attack is oftentimes getting knockouts, once again, on non-GX stuff. Incredible for mirror matches, because Giratinas oftentimes are chock full of energy, and you can use Psystorm to knock them out. And because of this 160 hit points from Lunala, it forces GXs onto your opponent's board, and that just lets you go ahead and prize races, which is just excellent for you. It's really annoying for Zapdos decks to start hitting into this guy. Again, it can force like Jolteons or Tapu Koko GXs onto the board. This is just such a big threat for them to deal with, and with the added search that we have in the list for extra Malamars, it just means that we're going to get this powered up way more often. Has a nice resistance to fighting as well, which is notable. And has this Full Moon Star attack, which is also worth talking about, seeing as though we already play a high count of Switch, and because we have even more discarding cards thanks to Viridian Forest, 8 Ball Search cards that can discard, and Acro Bikes in the list as well, we have so many ways of getting Psychic in the discard pile early. But if we're whiffing on Inkays, or if we're up against the likes of Zapdos builds, we have the Full Moon Star as a backup option to get extra energies into play to make sure we can get attacking. So this is just a really nice backup plan if we don't start hitting Inkays, or if they get picked off too early, for example. So this is a nice way that we can continue, or that we can guarantee extra attachments as well. In general, though, he's just a non-GX that forces a GX to hit the field to knock him out in one hit. Otherwise, they're going to be gusting around him, and you'll get continuous value from this Psystorm. Very nice card, especially for mirror matches, which I think my build is going to be strong in mirrors, because for one thing, I'm not playing Jirachi, and 2, I'm playing the Lunala Prism Star, so our Sky Scorching Lights are going to be more effective, because we can knock out their Jirachis, and we have a Lunala Prism Star that they have to continuously gust around or put GXs down against us. So I think this build is going to be very nice in mirror matches, which seems reasonable and important going into the new format, because Malamar looks more potent thanks to the likes of Viridian Forest. So that's why you're not seeing Jirachi in my build. It's because I want to win mirrors, and the Lunala once again helps tick that box as well. A couple more one-offs in the list. Let Loose is always pretty much found its way into Malamar when we have 8 nice Ball Search cards for him. Disrupting the opponent's hand size, giving us a fresh 4 as well at times is going to be really huge. And then we have Tapu Lele-GX with that Wonder tag to, again, bail us out, give us really high options of getting a nice supporter turn 1 with those 8 Ball Search cards for it. Energy Drive is always an option when we have so much energy acceleration, and we also have Tapu Lele available to help us out against spread matchups as well. Most notably, these two cards also have only one retreat cost, and that's great to have these on the board, because at some point in the game you'll probably Psychic Recharge to them, just so that you can put them into the active once you suffer a knockout, so that you can use something like Distortion Door or a Rescue Stretcher for a Necrozma, put them back on the board, start recharging them up, then just pay retreat out of these guys. So these serve a big purpose for simply being one retreat cost Pokemon as well in the deck, which is quite funny. That rounds out the Pokemon. Onto the item cards. We're going to play 2 copies of Stretcher. Really important to, again, maintain these Malamars as much as possible, as well as getting back Ultra Necrozmas if they are in GX matchups. 2 copies of Nest Ball alongside 4 Treasure and 4 Ultra. I just keep setting out the stall that we need to get lots of Inkays down in this format because they get picked off much more easily by Zapdos builds. We need to get multiple Inkay every game, and this is going to help us do it. Also can help get our main attackers out early, and we can start attaching to them, etc. 3 copies of Acro Bike. It's just good discarding synergy alongside like Giratinas and Psychic Energies whenever you see it, and it helps us dig a little bit deeper into our deck. It even has synergy with Stretcher for being a search card if we just discard like a Malamar from them. Just so much synergy with this card, as well as like keeping our support count overall low, that we have like lots of insta-playable cards. It just makes sense in this deck. Lots of discard synergy going on here. 3 copies of Switch. I think it's a really big card so that we can switch from an Ultra Necrozma. If it tanks a hit, we can get him back onto the bench, get him back active again with some like retreating from a Marshadow or something. Also, it means that if we only have like a couple Malamars on the board, we can get an Ultra down, start doing the recharges, and just get him into the active with a Switch card, even though these guys have chunky retreat costs. Overall, it's just going to really help us in a lot of different situations for getting some burst attackers out of nowhere without needing, you know, attachments from hand, or if we just don't have enough Malamars on the board, we can still get there thanks to Switch rather than having to like attach retreat from the active. Then we're going to play 2 copies of Viridian Forest. Honestly, the stadium is bonkers in the deck. I'm trying to work in a 3rd copy, to be honest. At the moment, I'm debating whether an Acro Bike is better than a Viridian. At the moment, I'm at 3 Acro, 2 Forest, but I could see the flip-flop, to be honest, because counter stadiums, for one thing, is a big important note in the new format, thanks to Thunder Mountain and Wonder Labyrinth and a few other things coming out from this set. Oh, well, the Thunder Mountain isn't new, but the archetypes are going to be using them. The new archetypes will be. So having counter stadiums is big enough, but the Viridian is constantly helping us lower our hand size, constantly allowing us to grab metal energies when we need to, which was a big headache of the deck previously. One of the big moans of Ultra Necrozma was that you had to find the metal energy on the crucial turns. Now it's much more easy thanks to Viridian. You can plan far ahead thanks to this stadium card, whilst getting extra synergy for discarding psychics from your hand. Oftentimes you can just go get rid of a psychic, grab a psychic. You're thinning out the deck. You're doing all sorts. This Viridian is amazing. Even if you're just using it as a -1 to improve your Lilies, that's also going to be value for you. So the card is really bonkers in this deck. It's, you know, at its highest power level in a deck like this, in my opinion. From there, we're going to play 3 copies of Guzma, obviously picking things off, etc. 4 Lilies, 4 Cynthias, just lots of draw mechanics. The Lilies, when we have so much insta-play and discardables with the treasures and the Ultra Balls, usually getting ourselves a good amount of cards. Then we're going to have 2 Choice Bands alongside the Beast Energy. Helps us ramp so much easier with Photon Geyser. It's important to have a good Zoroark matchup, and these Choice Bands help us be very, very efficient in those sorts of matchups, which is really awesome. Also going to be nice for reaching Ultra Beasts, tag teams. With Beast Energy Choice Band, you're getting a +60, which is +80 base on every Psychic Energy. So you get to 240 against Pikarom with just 2 Psychics if you high roll the Beast and the Choice Band, which is pretty cool. From there, we have the 3 Metal and the 7 Psychic to round things out. I think we can keep a relatively cheeky count thanks to the Viridians and like the search that we have, or the extra cycle that we have with Acro Bike. It's really going to help out in general. So onto some cards that you could be considering. I think the biggest thing that most people are going to be testing with Ultra Necrozma is Jirachi. The reason I don't like Jirachi, as I've already previously mentioned, is mirror matches. You are much worse off because you'll likely have the likes of Marshadow and Jirachi on your board. If that's the case, it's really easy for them to Sky Scorching Light and get ahead of you. Additionally, I feel like you only really have space for maybe a couple copies of Jirachi and 2 to 3 escape boards. That takes up 5 spaces to begin with, and you don't start the Jirachi all that often, so you end up having to use your early ball search for this card instead of Inkays, and I think that's just a big no-no in this format. We need to be getting lots of Inkays on the board in this meta, and Jirachi, you can't afford to spend resources on this card. So if you just play a low count, you won't be able to find it unless you get lucky. So I feel like although the Girachi provides a lot for this deck, picking out some important pieces at the right times, you can't actively search him out in most situations. So I feel like it doesn't quite fit the deck as much as I originally thought, because it was once in the list, of course. A few other attackers we could be considering. Something like a Deoxys is always going to be worth noting. It's just an extra non-GX attacker that we could be considering, as well as Dawn Wings Necrozma. This offers a new Moon's Eclipse GX attack, which is nice for falling behind and catching back up with the Moon's Eclipse, which is always very cool. It also gives us that invasion ability. It's like an extra switch card in your deck that can throw him into the active. I think this card used to be in the deck always because it had Ultra of the Moon. Now that we don't have that card, I'm just playing an extra physical switch. I think it's stronger overall. There are other things to note as well. This is also an Ultra Beast, so you can have Beast Energy, Choice Band, and hit 180 even with Dark Flash. So it's a reasonable card in this deck for sure. But for now, I'm trying to be as non-GX as possible because I foresee a lot of Zapdos Jirachi-based builds, and they are, you know, in that to win that matchup, we need to be very non-GX focused, and just starting the Dawn Wings in that matchup and Zoroark matchups, which covers a large basis of the format, is just a big no-no. So I don't want to be starting GXs if I can help it. A few other item cards we could be considering in this list. There is Beast Ring, of course, always available, because the Ultra Necrozma is obviously an Ultra Beast. I think this card has been in and out of the deck. It's currently not in my list at all. I think if you play Jirachi, there's another reason to add in maybe 1 or 2 Beast Rings, because it helps you ramp even more against these tag team GX Pokemon, and it means that you're a little bit less reliant on having lots of Malamars in play. So if you play a Jirachi build, I would consider playing Beast Ring for sure, but we don't have that much search in this list, so I'm not going to be playing them, especially because our emphasis is going to be just getting more Malamars into play. Then you could be considering some new supporter cards. Erica, to be honest, is not bad in this deck at all. If you are not liking the Acro Bikes, I could foresee you going to an extra Viridian and fitting in a couple of Ericas just to be a little bit safe. Additionally, there is also Bill's Analysis, which actually isn't the worst card in this deck either, because in the early turns, he can be digging out Ball Search cards, which is premium. In the mid-game, he can be digging out things like Choice Band and Switch, which are also very situationally important for you, whilst also just helping that chain of supporters continue through the game. And to be honest, we're only playing 8-draw supporters. If you don't like the Acro Bike engine, I could definitely see you just chopping them, getting another forest in the deck, and just playing 2 more supporter cards. I would not hate you for that at all. I've been flipping around with both of those sort of options. Right now I'm keeping to the Acro Bikes, but I could definitely foresee just adding in 2 Ericas, dropping the bikes altogether, and playing a 3rd forest. That's really not the worst play at all. I've played out with both of those builds. But for now, I'm playing the Acro Bikes just because I like to be quick and speedy and try and dig as much as possible. But that's just me. If your preference is towards having Ericas in the deck, you can definitely go for that. So let's jump into the ladder and have some games with this deck. Very versatile, very powerful. I've seen a lot of Ultra Necrozma on the ladder, and it's getting a lot of hype right now. So definitely one to keep your eye out for the IC. I think it's going to be a big deck alongside the DCE-based builds of Malamar and even updated gas cans. There's actually one other Pokemon I should have mentioned in my in the sort of considerations, and that's Chimecho. Chimecho has been in previous lists of Ultra Necrozma. Right now I'm dedicating slots just to finding more Inkays. I think it'll have a higher win rate, and I think we need to be more concerned about the likes of Zapdos and Pikarom matchups, which Chimecho does not help out for. I think we have to try and accept the fact that our Zoroark is slightly weaker without Chimecho, but the upswing is that we just have more search in general to get lots of Malamars on the board. And at the same time, we're still playing double Choice Band and Beast Energy, so our Zoroark isn't that bad at all. So we're up against what looks to be a Sceptile deck. We have no Psych Energy in our opening hand, which is a bit of a shame. We are going to treasure turn 1. I'm also going to attach to Tina. I think I'm just going to toss a Stretcher here, which is a little bit ugly when we sometimes need to use an Ultra Necrozma, but both of them are in the deck. We also need to... So the idea here is going to be we deal with the baby Sceptile if he ever gets it out, and then we just use Ultra to deal with the other stuff. We're able to Ultra Ball away 2 Psychics here, which is awesome after a nice big Lillie. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and find another Inkay. I don't see a reason not to. Actually, we could grab the Ditto because we have better search for the other stuff, and he's not going to be playing Muck anytime soon against us, at least. So let's get that Ditto down, and we can pass turn here. We're holding on to Switch, we're holding on to Metal. The alternative there was that we searched out an Ultra Necrozma, because we are holding on to these two cards. It does commit us down the Ultra line a little bit early, which is my main concern, because that's just a little bit awkward. If we pigeonhole ourselves towards Ultra straight away, he could maybe try and punish that with his Sceptile, but we'll see what he can do here. He's just going for Find a Friend, which is pretty yucky. Put it into your hand. So if we had used the Ultra Necrozma, I think we actually would have just won this turn. So maybe a misplay there, especially because we drew the Malamar. We would have actually had game if I had found the Ultra there. We could Lillie for 2 and try and get it, or we could just Cynthia. I feel like when you play 3 Switch, we have reasonable odds of finding the combo pieces again. We get ourselves Nestball, Viridian, Acro Bike. Okay, we are going to look for this. We're going to get an Ultra down. That's doing the requisite 80. I can Viridian away Nestball because I don't want anything else on this board, and thin towards Switch with this Acro Bike. That's all we need. 3 copies of Switch in here. They would be really awesome. It would literally be game. And we just find, ooh, Mali and Lele. Because we don't have a backup supporter, I think we actually just have to take the Lele here. We'll just attach active, recharge the back, and pass. I still think we're in a commanding position here, to be fair. Giratina has an awkward amount of hit points for Sceptile to deal with. Our board is relatively well developed. Oh, Water Energy means he's actually a Alolan Executor based build. He's going to grab Grovyle, use Sunshine Grace. He's actually attaching as well, so he can hit us for 40. As well as find a new basic Pokemon to put down. It is going to be that Execute. Viridian Forest is probably a card that he's playing already in his list. That's something Alolan Eggs does gain. I wonder if he's playing the Dragon one, or if he's playing the Grass one. Probably a combination of the two. If he's playing this Grovyle, he's definitely playing some Grass ones. Lunala will be annoying for him to deal with, especially if we can use it in combination with Guzma's. He actually just Ultra Balls and gives up. To be fair, I think with the Viridian Forest in play, we had guaranteed first knockout. We'd have been able to go ahead in the race. We had Sky Scorching Light, which is always good in that matchup as well, especially if he has other Tricos and stuff that hits the board. Any spare executes, which he isn't able to evolve, we can get over those all at once. Feels like it wouldn't be that bad of a matchup, even though he has 160 hit points on his main attacker. Distortion Door and Sky Scorching Light can do some work there for sure. And it demonstrated that we were able to get lots of basics down early, which I'm always happy to see. We got 2 Psychics in the bin early. Viridian Forest started pulling its weight, so that's not a bad demonstration, even though it was very quick. We're going first here. Let's bring up Inkay. There is a small debate. If you're going first, you could just attach twice to an Ultra Necrozma and knock out an early basic. But I think it's, you know, if we're up against a non-GX matchup, we don't want to put that down too often. We're up against a Doublade deck, and he's actually playing Metal Goggles. Metal Goggles does get around Sky Scorching Light. So if he plays that cleverly, it may be awkward for us. If he doesn't use the goggles cleverly, we have a very good matchup. Okay, we are chock full of Ultra Balls, which is awesome. We can toss away some stuff really early here, which we will be doing, because we want to be getting lots of Inkays down, as ever. I will be tossing a Ultra Necrozma as well here, as well as the Stretcher, perhaps. Yeah. I need to make sure the other Stretcher is in deck, which it is. I took a bit of a risk there, not going to lie. But we're going to be able to bring back the Distortion Door, get an attachment, and Lillie for 7 cards with another discardable card to look for Psych Energies off this Lillie afterwards. So This, once again, is looking like a pretty good start for us. We'll use Distortion Door just to get him into play and to get an attachment on. We can be liberal with our Metal Energies in non-GX matchups. Don't overvalue them too much. We get another Inkay. Viridian is going to get us our first Psychic Energy, which we will toss a Choice Band away for. To start plucking these out, we're going to use maybe Viridian with it next turn as well. So, not a bad start. The Viridian obviously helping out early, which is great news. 2 Malamars in our hand for next turn. Looking pretty good. Let's see what his first turn is going to be like. Perhaps he's playing Lele Jasmine. His turn 1 Jasmine would be pretty nuts, but the fact that we see Nest Ball for Blitzel makes me think it's more likely going to be a Jirachi-based non-GX build. We're going to see an Ultra Ball from him as well. He's going to get rid of Shrine and Blower, so he's letting the Viridian Forest stick by all means. He's going to grab his first Honedge. And just a pass. Okay. Well, that's double Psychic Energy, which is absolutely bananas for us. We will Viridian away 1 more, just to keep thinning the deck out, because why not? And we can start putting down some Mallies here. The Ditto is literally always a Malamar, so don't overvalue it. We will recharge once. We can just Ultra Ball and... yeah. The fact that he Nest Balled out the Blitzel makes me think he would have the... he would have the Zebstrika in his hand. But we're definitely just going to recharge in Guzma the Honedge here. Obviously the Ditto can become it as well, but it's always good if we can just limit his bench, because if you limit his bench, you limit the tools that he has in play, so that works for me. We will just kick things off with a Shadow Impact. I think I'm not putting it on the active, because it's just helping him reach a little bit. We'll put it on the Malamar, because it feels like he's never going to be able to just Guzma attack next turn. It feels like a too specific of a hand. We're able to pick up a Nest Ball, which is a little bit dead at this point. It could be used for Viridian Forest fodder, though. Here comes Doublade. Doublade alongside Metal Goggles is actually annoying for the Giratina because of resistance. He's going to Viridian away a Doublade for a Lightning Energy. So it looks like he's playing the Coco Prism build for extra energy acceleration. We're going to see him drop another Tapu Koko, a free retreat one. Nest Ball for a Honedge. Let's see how many tools he's able to get. He gets a Lillie. He's going to need a lot of tools off this Lillie, though. Another Nest Ball. He's getting his board developed, at least. Any adventure bags in that hand? He's going to need some. Choice Band to the back. He's actually just going to try and retreat and protect his boyo. So we have a couple... So the Guzma is obviously something we're doing this turn. The fact that he protected Doublade, and it's his second one that goes, makes me think it's precious to him. Obviously doing 20 is not much. The alternative is that we just knock out the Zebstrika. The only downside to knocking out the Zebstrika is if he goggles up any of these other guys and we can't knock it out later, we want the Guzma. You know what? I think Guzma is actually a mistake this turn. We want to be able to have it on the turn that he puts goggles on an active that we can't kill. Knocking out his engine is tempting, but I think we have to knock it out at a more choice moment, in my opinion. I'm just going to attach to an Inkay and Cynthia. I think we got to be a little bit cleverer than that if we're going to win this game. We don't just want to... And you've drawn back into Guzman, which is great. We're just going to Shadow Impact here. We're 2 prizes up, which is nice. We'll be able to play around Goggles again because we drew back into Guzma. It all feels pretty good. There's the frying pan. So he plays a lot of reduction cards, that's for sure. Goggles and pan. So far he's doing 60. Oh, he plays Counter Energy as well. Shrine just to bounce our Viridian, which we have got a lot of value out of already. He's going to recycle some stuff with his Stretcher. That's 90 damage. Sprinting away. Got rid of the Counter Energy. He can only hit us for 90, which is very good for us. So we're just going to treasure away treasure. No, we can treasure away literally anything else. We'll get rid of the Inkay for Tina. And then we'll just treasure away Tina. Trying to thin the deck as much as possible. Just thin it out. So thanks to that awkward resistance, we want to use Guzma here. Then use Distortion Door. Then we'll start using our excess recharges. Yep, we got him. We got him. Quick maths. And we're just very far ahead at that point. We are very good at taking on non-GX matchups, thanks to that sweet number that Giratina is able to hit, and the Distortion Doors just help out in those sorts of situations as well. I think we are just too fast and efficient for these other decks, especially with the amount of ball search we are playing with the Malamar deck. By the way, please excuse the amount of blankets and snoods and stuff that I'm wearing. It is really cold in this place, and my heating has actually packed itself in. So I'm having to sit here in the icicle coldness. So I hope you appreciate my sacrifice, because it is cold. We are able to start off with a nice Viridian Forest here. Kill a Giratina. Get ourselves, I think we want no card, because we're either Lillying for 5 by bringing back the Tina and attaching a metal to it, or we're just using Cynthia. I think draw 5 isn't bad. Distortion Door. Attach. Lillie. Is basically the same as us just benching this. I actually should have just not used the Viridian. I should have just waited off the Lillie, but we missed Psychic Energy anyway. But I mean, we could have like discarded something else. Do we just want to put another Inkay down on this board? Or do I save this for the Viridian next turn? I think we save for Viridian. Also, I don't really know what deck he is just yet. We've only seen Lele so far. I see a lightning deck box. Maybe he's Pikarom. More likely to be Pikarom than Zapdos builds if he's playing Lele. Well, there's Coco Prism. Going to see an Ultra Ball as well. Oh, nice full art Erica. Beautiful. They're having to get a second Lele on the board, which is really good for us. Really, really strong for us. Wait, he got rid of Cynthia and Erica just to Lele for a Lillie. That's pretty wild. Maybe he just wants extra bench Pokemon for an early Coco. Maybe that's honestly what he wants. There's a Zeraora GX. Because he does always need valid targets for the Prism. Viridian Forest is going to help him discard some Lightnings early. There's a Ditto. And there's a Circuitry. Huh. Interesting. He plays multiple Circuitries. I'm very confused. Gonna see attachment to the active. And a retreat. And just a pass. Ah, be Viridian. we pick up a Psychic, which is so nice here. So it means now we can pull out another Psychic Energy and get a Shadow Impact off turn 1. And I think I just want to take out his Coco Prism, you know? Because Coco Prism's a very good card. And I don't want that to be in play, that's for sure. He can burst all sorts of attacks out with that in play. We just want this dead. I think when we're already holding on to Beast Energy, I might be able to get rid of Stretcher or Treasure here. Oh, sorry, or Metal. There's actually one already committed here. I'm not going to get too greedy. I'm going to get rid of a Stretcher just to grab another Inkay here. I think if he has any response here, it's probably just knocking out a benched guy. So let's just have a nice backup. How many is there other metal in here? Yeah, it is. Okay. Good to know. So if we put 40 on the bench, he could... Well, he couldn't Energy Drive knock us out anyway. If I put it on the active, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, so it has to go on the bench. And I want it to go onto the Malamar, because otherwise he can Energy Drive and knock out an Inkay with a Guzma. Denying the Coco Prism is huge here, though. So huge, no matter what deck he is. Tina's a nice pickup, especially if the Viridian sticks. He's going to Viridian away a Lightning for a Lightning. So many decks can take advantage of this stadium. That's the only downside of the card. The card is so strong that it's just good enough for the opponent as well. You know, that's the problem. Okay, he's going to bring up a Mally. Trying to stall us, it looks like. And just hit us for 20. Okay. We play 3 Switch, which is nice. Obviously, the Aether Paradise is going to be annoying for his hit points. I think it's just a Cynthia here. Don't think I need to bench the Tina. Especially with no Psychics in the discard pile. The only thing is we don't necessarily want to draw into it again. We have one other metal in the deck and the Beast Energy if I am to attach this turn. We will be liking Ultra Necrozma a lot here, so I don't think I want to go too crazy. We do draw into a Switch, which is nice. No, no Stadium. So we're just hitting him for 100 here, which is not ideal. But when we have Distortion Door on our side, I don't hate it. I'm going to put the damage on the other Tina. Again, I don't want to fall into Energy Drive range. Having to put down a Lele next turn is a bit awkward. Still not really certain what he is. What type of deck he is. These Xurkitries feel very out of place. I'm going to see a Lucia. He's already played Coco and Ditto. So he's actually just grabbing Thunder Mountain. So he could use Cablegram, perhaps, this turn. But no. Oh, yeah, he can. He's going to Cablegram for the knockout. Never thought I'd say that out loud. So we have 6, 7, 8, 16. I could Distortion Door KO his Lele if I Lele for Guzma. It's not bad, right? It's guaranteed Switch and it's taking 2 more prizes off the board. Oh, I don't have space because I have to Lele for Guzma. I can't Distortion Door as well. But this other Mally now can come down and I can do it that way. What am I saying? I should just, we should just take out the Zeraora, right? Or should I... This is hard. The Zeraora is tempting, but I think we take the stuff off. I just think we take energies off the board at this point. Oh no, connection. This is our lost condition. There we go. Please, please connection, be kind. There we go. Please connection, don't do me like this. Ah! So cold that connection's not working. The heating's gone, not the connection too. That would be very sad. Yikes. Uh-oh. I really hope this isn't the end of the video. Bum bum ba bum. No. Where's my router? The router's still blue. It's not yet gone orange or red or anything. Wah! That's so sad. Well, I feel like we go very far ahead, and I really don't know what sort of deck he's playing. Yep, we got booted out. Let me try and log back in. My router's still saying blue. Blue means on. Blue means good. Load of lies. But I guess it's not going to let me log in. Yeah, it's not. It's just making me close the program. Feels bad, man. But that's going to be Ultra. I feel like we were able to beat 2 non-GX decks pretty convincingly. And we were definitely going to be ahead in that sort of matchup. Let me see if I can reload just quickly before I run away. It's a real shame that it's not working. But I do have to be somewhere anyway in a moment, so I think I might have to leave you here. But overall, I believe that having more ball search is important in this format. I think you can experiment with the Acro Bikes and maybe try and just add in Ericas and an extra Viridian. Viridian is such an insane card. Whenever I see that card, I'm happy, and it's more important to have counter stadiums as well. So those would be the sort of spaces that I play around with. I think, yeah, this isn't going to work, is it? I'm going to have to tinker with my connection. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. I'll be streaming like way more, like all this week, because I want to be testing all sorts of things. So if you want to see more Ultra Necrozma gameplay and lots of other gameplay, head on over to Team OmniPoke on Twitch to follow me. Also, remember that I'm coaching, so check out facebook.com for the OmniPoke coaching program to try and see coaching if you want that. So yeah, that's it for me today. Lots of selfless plugs that I'm going to be looking at. Yeah, errors are occurring. But that's Ultra Necrozma. Sorry for the issues, but I am running out of time today, so I'm going to have to leave it there. And I'll try and make it up to you with more Ultra Necrozma gameplay soon. Cheers.